If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns have entered the 2025 offseason facing one of the most complicated quarterback situations in the NFL. After the Deshaun Watson debacle, a saga marred by poor performance, off-field controversy, and an enormous contract that backfired, they knew they couldn't afford to fumble again. But in trying to correct past mistakes, the Browns might have overcompensated. Right now, there are 4 quarterbacks in camp, each vying for the QB1 spot and not nearly enough snaps to go around. It's a quarterback room filled with uncertainty, ambition, and a dash of desperation. Fans are left wondering, will any of them emerge as a true leader? Or are we witnessing the beginning of another quarterback carousel in Cleveland? One name that's suddenly gaining momentum in this crowded competition is Kenny Pickett. That's right, the same Kenny Pickett who was once hailed as the next great hope in Pittsburgh. Now he's wearing orange and brown, and according to Terry Pluto of Cleveland.com, he might already have the inside track to become the Browns' starting quarterback. In his latest column, Pluto dropped a telling hint. My guess is Kenny. Pickett perhaps has the early edge to start. That's a bold statement considering Pickett hasn't exactly lived up to the hype in his young career. But what makes this prediction even more interesting is the comparison Pluto drew between Pickett and another quarterback who's been on a roller coaster journey of his own, Sam Darnold. Pluto explains that the Browns see Pickett as their version of Darnold, the former number 3 overall pick by the New York Jets who flamed out in Gotham before finding redemption. Darnold's path is one that zigzagged through disappointment in New York and mediocrity in Carolina and San Francisco before he finally turned heads in Minnesota last season. His resurgence was enough to earn him a new opportunity with the Seattle Seahawks, where he's expected to be a key piece moving forward. The idea here isn't that Pickett is going to light up the league overnight, but that he might, given the right coaching and a more stable environment, turn into a reliable starter. It's a Geno Smith story in the making, if everything goes perfectly. Of course, comparing Pickett to Darnold is both encouraging and cautionary. Darnold had immense arm talent, a big body, and flashes of brilliance even when he struggled. He was a top-tier draft prospect who simply landed in a toxic situation with the Jets. Pickett, while a first-round pick himself, wasn't seen in quite the same light. His arm isn't as strong, his decision-making has been questioned. And in Pittsburgh, he often looked overwhelmed and indecisive. But it's important to remember that Pickett never had an offense tailored to his strengths. He walked into a Steelers team with shaky play calling and limited support. That's not to say he's blameless, but it does suggest that maybe, just maybe, his story isn't finished yet. General Manager Andrew Berry and head coach Kevin Stefanski haven't come out and named a starter, but the breadcrumbs are there. From the way they've talked about Pickett, his potential, his competitiveness, his ability to rebound, it's clear they didn't just bring him in as a camp arm. This wasn't a throwaway trade. They believe he's still got upside, and they're hoping that a change of scenery, along with a fresh playbook and renewed confidence, can unlock that untapped potential. Pickett might not have been their plan A going into the offseason, but he's quickly becoming the most intriguing part of plan B. But here's where things get murky. The Browns still have 3 other quarterbacks to sort through. Veteran depth is great in theory, but in practice, it means fewer reps for everyone, especially during training camp and preseason. Developing chemistry with the starting offense takes time. Establishing a rhythm in Stefanski's system takes repetition. And if reps are being divided among 4 players, how does anyone truly separate from the pack? This quarterback room isn't built for a slow burn. The Browns need a leader to emerge, and fast. Otherwise, we're looking at a team that could enter week 1 still unsure of its identity under center. It's also worth noting that Pickett's future in Cleveland isn't set in stone. While he may be the early favorite now, the NFL is nothing if not unpredictable. A rough preseason showing, a surprise performance by another QB, or even a mid-season trade could change everything. The Browns aren't married to Pickett long-term. They didn't draft him, and they certainly didn't invest a franchise-defining contract like they did with Watson. That means his leash will be short. He has to impress quickly or risk being just another name on the long list of Cleveland's quarterback misfires. Still, for a franchise starving for stability at the quarterback position, Pickett represents a glimmer of hope. He's young, motivated, and perhaps finally in a place where he won't be set up to fail. If Stefanski can design an offense that plays to Pickett's quick release style and ability to read the middle of the field, there's a chance he can turn things around. The Browns have the talent around him. Solid receivers, a strong running game, and a top-tier defense. What they've lacked is consistent quarterback play. If Pickett can even be average, that might be enough to keep this team competitive. The real question isn't whether Kenny Pickett can become Sam Darnold 2.0. It's whether the Browns are capable of giving him the environment Sam Darnold eventually found in Minnesota. That means good coaching, patience, and a clear plan. Too often, Cleveland has been a graveyard for quarterbacks, with schemes changing as often as the seasons. If they want different results this time, they'll need to break that cycle. Pickett isn't a miracle cure, but he might just be a reasonable remedy. So, as training camp inches closer, all eyes in Cleveland will be on that quarterback battle. Will Kenny Pickett rise from the ashes of Pittsburgh and deliver on the promise that once made him a first-round pick? Or will the Browns' search for a steady QB continue into yet another season of frustration? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over, and in a city that lives and breathes football, every throw, every snap, and every interview will be scrutinized. The Browns have made their move. Now it's time to see if it pays off. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that. Like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Well. If you had told me this time last year that TJ Watt, the face of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, would be suiting up in Browns orange and brown, I'd have laughed in your face. But folks, it's real. It's happening. The unthinkable just became reality. In a jaw-dropping move that's rocking the entire NFL landscape, TJ Watt is leaving the Steelers and heading to their bitter rivals, the Cleveland Browns, in what can only be described as a mega contract that resets the market for defensive players. And no, this isn't some rumor floating on Twitter. This is official. Confirmed, signed, sealed, and delivered. After years of anchoring that steel curtain defense and tormenting quarterbacks in the AFC North, Watt is now flipping sides. This is LeBron to Miami levels of shock for Pittsburgh fans. And for the Browns? Oh, they just might have pulled off the heist of the decade. Now let's talk about how we got here. Watt, drafted by Pittsburgh in 2017, quickly became one of the most dominant forces in football. Defensive player of the year, sack leader, game changer. He was the heart and soul of that Steelers defense. But over the last season or two, signs of strain began to show. Rumors of contract tensions, frustrations with coaching decisions, and whispers that he might want a new challenge started to circulate. At first, they seemed like just that, rumors, but looking back now, those were clear warning signs. Watt had 1 year left on his deal with Pittsburgh, but he wanted an extension worthy of his production. The Steelers, notorious for their hardline contract stance, hesitated, and that hesitation opened the door. It wasn't just about the money, though. Sources say Watt wanted respect, support, and a real shot at a Super Bowl. The Browns offered all three and backed up the talk with a jaw-dropping offer. So how big is this contract? Brace yourself. 5 years, $145 million with $100 million guaranteed. Let that sink in. That's the richest deal ever given to a non-quarterback in Browns history. It catapults Watt into the very top echelon of NFL earners, and rightfully so. This isn't just a statement signing. It's a declaration of war. The Browns are tired of being the little brother in the AFC North. They're tired of being overlooked, outplayed, and outmuscled. With this move, they're saying loud and clear, we're here to win now. I'm pairing Watt with Myles Garrett. That's not a defensive line. That's a nightmare factory. Two of the most feared edge rushers in football. Now on the same team, in the same jersey. Offenses better start preparing now because Sundays in Cleveland just got very scary. But let's talk about the emotional fallout in Pittsburgh. This isn't just a player leaving. This is TJ freaking Watt, the guy who carried the defense. When Big Ben's arm was fading, who gave everything on every snap, who bled black and gold. Steelers Nation is reeling. Social media is in flames. Jerseys are being burned. Fans are stunned, betrayed, heartbroken. Watt was more than a star. He was a symbol of Pittsburgh toughness, and now he's gone to Cleveland, of all teams. You can't write a more painful plot twist for Steelers faithful. And make no mistake, the Steelers front office is under fire. People want answers. How did they let this happen? Why wasn't he re-signed? Why didn't they offer him what he's worth? Those questions aren't going away anytime soon, and the front office knows it. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, it's all smiles and champagne. The Browns are riding high. They've landed the biggest free agent coup in recent memory and instantly upgraded their defense from solid to elite. This is a locker room changing, culture shifting kind of move. Watt brings experience, leadership, and that fiery edge you just can't coach. For a team that's been teetering on the edge of greatness, this could be the push that finally takes them over the top. The Browns already had a talented core. Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward. And now they've added a generational pass rusher to the mix. The AFC North just became a battlefield. And don't think for a second that Watt doesn't have the Steelers game circled in red on his calendar. You better believe he's coming for blood. Let's also look at the bigger picture here. This move says a lot about how the NFL is changing. Loyalty is great, but it doesn't always pay. The bills or bring the rings. Players want to win. They want security. They want to feel valued. TJ Watt leaving Pittsburgh for a division rival shows that even the deepest ties can break if the business side falls short. It's a new era where players are taking control of their careers. And for the Browns, it's validation of a long-term rebuild finally coming to fruition. They drafted smart, developed talent, cleared cap space, and when the opportunity came, they struck hard. This isn't the same old Browns. This is a franchise making moves. And with Baltimore and Cincinnati also in the mix, the AFC North is now the most brutal must-watch division in the NFL. As for Watt himself, the move marks a new chapter in an already stellar career. He leaves Pittsburgh with over 85 sacks, multiple All-Pro honors, and a Defensive Player of the Year trophy. He's already a lock for the Hall of Fame one day, but this next phase is all about legacy. Can he lead the Browns to a Super Bowl? Can he prove he wasn't just a product of the Steelers system? Can he elevate a talented defense into an all-time great unit? These are the questions that will define the rest of his career. And knowing what, he's not backing down from any of them. He's the kind of player who thrives on challenge, and he just took on the biggest one of his life, flipping the script in the AFC North and trying to bring a title to Cleveland. Of course there are risks. Watt is no spring chicken. He's 30, he's had a few injuries, and that's a lot of money to tie up in a pass rusher. But if he stays healthy, if he keeps that same motor and drive, it's worth every penny. The Browns aren't playing for the long-term rebuild anymore. They're all in. They believe this is their window, and they're not letting it pass. And from a fan perspective, you couldn't ask for a more exciting move. Watt brings intensity, charisma, and swagger. He's the kind of player who changes the atmosphere just by walking into the building. Cleveland hasn't had that kind of presence on defense since maybe ever. This could be the beginning of something special. So what happens next? We wait. We watch. We circle those Steelers-Browns matchups on the calendar. Because when TJ Watt walks into Acrisure Stadium wearing a Browns helmet, you know it's going to be fireworks. The boos will be deafening. The stakes will be sky high. And Watt? He'll be smiling because he knows what he's doing. He's not just changing teams, he's rewriting the rivalry. He's putting pressure on everyone, from the Browns coaches to the Steelers front office to the quarterbacks who now have to face both Watt and Garrett coming off the edge. This is no longer just a player signing. This is a tectonic shift in the AFC North. And the aftershocks? Oh, they're going to be felt all season long. So buckle up, football fans. The 2025 season just got a whole lot more interesting. The Browns just added a Hall of Fame caliber pass rusher. The Steelers just lost a franchise icon. And the AFC North just became the wildest, most unpredictable division in the NFL. One man, one move, one mega contract. And now everything has changed. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan. Hit subscribe and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!